Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to GameStar TV and the final week of Swiss Brackets of Season 4, the Blizzard ANZ Season 4 qualifiers. So it has been a fantastic season so far, and here we are at the business end of it. We have a couple of maths wizards going on in the background trying to figure out exactly who it is that's going to be making it through into the top four, and it's been a fun conversation today, let me say, and this is exactly what we want for the scene. As much as it might be nerve-wracking for some teams, we want to have you all engaged in it. So a great discussion so far today on Discord. It's been fantastic. Well, my name is Crisis. I'm joined tonight by the team of casters that you have become familiar with for the Division 2 nights. So firstly, over on my left, there you go, is Kitfox. Good evening, Kitfox.
Good evening, Crisis. Fantastic to be here on the Hots bandwagon for a second consecutive night. Division 1 last night absolutely delivered, and Milkshake knocking out NMD to claim that spot. So Milkshake won't be featuring tonight. The good news is, though, that we will get to see NMD, so I cannot wait to jump into these games like you mentioned. Final week, do or die time.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of requests coming through from the boys on Milkshake to broadcast their matches against NMD from last night, or their games against NMD from last night from the replays. So they've provided us with the replays. GL Phoenix has put up his hand. He's going to be recording those straight to VOD. Well, we'll put together a casting team for that. I don't know if we'll be able to, there was an indication that they might want to have it done live, but I'm not sure we'll be able to do that this week because of other commitments. But without further ado, let me introduce a man who actually needs no introduction, sitting there behind his fancy HGC background there. It is none other than Daddy Disco Kerr. Good evening, Disco. How are you doing?
Hey guys, I am chuffed. I'm so excited. We are at the, you 100% right, we're at the business end.
Yeah, it's the business end. It's business time. Wednesday night is business time.
So, very excited.
All right, so our first match tonight, we were going to be bringing you a set of teams, Mad Because Bad versus Onyx Esports. We love to give Onyx Esports a lot of love, mainly because it's Grumshot's team and he's done so much for the community, but also because throughout the season, they have kept themselves in top 10 contention, which is a fantastic result for a new team that started out this year. So we like to give them a little bit of love, but unfortunately, Mad Because Bad, they are in a quick play match, or a quick match at the moment. So sorry guys, we can't have you on stream. So what we're going to be doing instead is going to be bringing you for our first match, the Homewreckers versus the Midnights. So without further ado, everybody's ready in the lobby. We're going to head on over to that match. So Kitfox, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Crisis. Let's jump straight into the deep end on this. The Homewreckers, I believe, a brand new team to the scene. Good to see them come in for the final week. Not a lot of teams do that. A few teams decide to bow out when they realise they're not going to make it. But Homewreckers, not these lads. They're going, hey, we want to get in on some of this competitive heroes action. And why wouldn't you, considering Blizzard ANZ have been fantastic at getting, well, everything involved, everything underway, and just putting on a great show for everybody. But yes, I'm joined by Daddy Disco for this first match. GLP will be featuring a little bit later. So Disco, we're going into Sky Temple to start things off. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, I see it unfolding with a little bit of a laning phase. Objectives will spawn. Occasionally teams will rotate to them, and a little bit of core damage right towards the end.
Captain Obvious, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody take a bow. You don't get that every day of the week. But nah, Disco, Dahaka, we talk a lot about on a big map like this, on Sky Temple, on Warhead Junction, on Dragonshire, how important global pressure is. You can see Dahaka now being taken off the board for the Homewreckers who are on the blue side, so on your left of screen, and Genji being taken away from the Midnights.
And you're just talking about the global pressure here, so Dahaka is a high priority pick.
Yeah.
Why don't we see someone like Folstead getting banned? Folstead has dropped off a lot in popularity and even in power level. So there's a lot of global heroes that just really aren't that strong anymore. And Dahaka still falls into that category. So that's why obviously he'll be first banned. And then Genji, a must-hire dive composition hero, will be banned out of the second one. Very powerful, get into the back line and just wreck them. Interesting. I want to do an interesting pick here. Early Oriel. Now, Oriel's kind of weakened a little bit. Like she's still quite a high-tiered healer, but I feel she's kind of weakened over the past several weeks. Even granted that, Chromie's so popular at the moment. Oreo doesn't really have access to cleanse. It just doesn't have access to cleanse. And so we're seeing a lot more stun heroes come back into play because Uth has been weakened as well. So I'm surprised that they've locked in Oreo so early on in the piece.
Chromie almost 100% win rate last night until Fat94 whipped out his Tracer Doodle and just went slap and put him in his place. Said, "Hang on, man, I am the star of ANZ. I am the best ranged assassin." And up close and personal, he was able to deliver. Catch that VOD if you didn't see our cast last night. It was fantastic. But Uther Valor being locked in for the Midnights. And very quickly, it's good to see when teams lock in their champions fast. It means we don't sit in the lobby for days. And Sonya and Gul'dan now being picked. Gul'dan usually gets a lot of flavor on maps like Braxis Holdout for his ability to wave clear. So it's interesting to see him being picked here on Sky Temple, considering mages have fallen off themselves a little bit lately.
Oh, it's a bit of a weird one. Like, I think mages are actually starting to make a comeback. We're seeing KT a lot more in a lot of games, and even Jaina. But Gul'dan, out of all the mages, it's like one of the most dangerous ones to play. Not because you can deal a lot of damage, which you can, but just for yourself. You can't escape. You've got no way to do it. He's got no real good CC to level 10 until he takes his Fear Bomb. So that's a bit of a problem. Even though Genji's off the board, Zeratil's off the board by the other team, heroes like that really punish Gul'dan. And the fact that both of them have been removed off the board actually puts Gul'dan in a bit of a better situation now.
And an Uberak being taken off from the Homewreckers. So already you can see them piling their eggs into that Gul'dan basket. They don't want anybody to be able to get down there because Anubarak, number one anti-mage tank in the game, he's got that spell armor. Yeah. He's got so much CC, escapes. He's got the works, basically. And you can already see their game plan starting to unfold. Will the Midnights be able to read that like an open book? I mean, it's pretty obvious now. Let's see if their drafting skills are up to scratch. They have taken Genji off the board and the Zeratul, which actually would have been a good pest for Gul'dan.
Yeah, that's 100% what I was saying there, Kitfox. They've actually removed things that would have been good at dealing at Gul'dan, but the Midnights so far stacking everything for a really strong front line, and so like a poke, basically a poke composition. This might not work in their favor because Homewreckers with the Gul'dan can comfortably poke into them, poke into their Arthas, poke into their Lorik. If Valor gets close, the corruption can drop onto her, doing delivering a lot of damage. Gul'dan really doesn't have any sort of CC, so it's not like the Uther, Guardian Kings isn't really going to be a terrible factor. No, that's that good now anyway. And the fact that the Homewreckers have Sonya as well, they've removed a great bruiser option to get to the back line, to get through their own back line. I don't know. Midnights, I just don't like their composition now. I don't know how they're going to get into the backline of Homewreckers, especially when Homewreckers have everything they want. They could pick up a big body. I mean, Johanna's available. All the big things. Murden's available. Johanna's available. They could do so many warriors. They're all available.
You called it, man. Johanna's going to be locked in, as well as Falstad. One of the global pressures that you were saying has been fallen off a little bit recently. But looking over at the side of the Midnights here, you've got Arthas, which is an extremely strong front line. Leoric, an extremely strong front line, who is basically an anti-tank if he specs the Drain Hope build. He can suck away Johanna's HP, nullify Sonya. I mean, we saw last week Leoric versus Sonya in lane, and Sonya had a terrible time. Now Zagara being locked in by the Midnights. So this is an interesting game plan. They're going to protect that Valor while Zagara is going to go for the split pushes. Yeah. Sky Temple's a big map, so Nidus Network finds a lot of value, but we're going to jump straight into this one. I'm excited to see if the Midnights can really pull this one off.
Yeah, I mean, the big matchup here is going to be the Falstad and Zagara in the top lane. Who can really take that out? Again, Falstad's dropped off a little bit in popularity and strength, but he's an early game global. Zagara is late game global, mid game, level 10. So they're not going to get a lot of value if Falstad's sitting there punishing the Zagara in the top. That's going to buy time for Gul'dan to dish out the damage onto Valor, who I don't think is going to be able to really get in there and do anything. You're not going to be able to really go forward and do much damage.
So we're going to get into Sky Temple, ladies and gentlemen, for round one of the final week here of the GameStar Blizzard ANZ HGC qualifiers. On the left of your screen, we have got the Homewreckers. Touch Me is on Falstad, Amur on Johanna, Angel Beats the Mage on Gul'dan, Stump got on Sonya, and Koality, poor old Koality, Silence coming into this game. Going to have to rely on the Discord comms, as you do in competitive play. It's funny nonetheless.
Well, he does have the own capability, but he is the Angel of Hope, which is a statement a lot of people in the ANZ may not necessarily say about his character. But here we are. It's on Sky Temple on the left-hand side. The blue team is Homewreckers. We got Stump Goddess Sonya. Angel Beats is playing Gul'dan. Touch Me is Falstead. Quality is obviously Oriel. And we got Immure is playing on the Johanna.
Midnights is Chucky on the Leoric, Mariko on the Zagara, the split pushing Zerg Broodmother, Prox on Uther, Burnsy on Arthas, Vala is Shardstorm, not the other way around, as I was about to say, but here we go. Let's see what the talents are going for. Echoed Corruption is the flavor of the day for Gul'dan, so he's going to go for the team fight potential as opposed to the wave clear. I mean, it doesn't really matter which one you go. Both of them find heaps and heaps of value. Falstad going for Seasoned Marksman, so no surprise there. Leoric already looking at specking into that Drain Hope build with Hopelessness.
Yeah, looking to really have to punish Johanna or Sonya when Sonya potentially dives in, but
bit of a punch-on going on in the middle lane there. Burnsy with that Frost Presence. Just being a little bit cheeky on the front line there and throwing out those Howling Blasts. No connections as yet though, Disco.
No, nothing really solid. I mean, each one just wants to play this early game. I believe the Midnights know that they can't risk any early deaths because Polstad's really going to counter their Zagara plays in the top lane, at least for the first 10 levels.
Gul'dan already at 7 stacks of Echoed Corruption, so he has started off his game plan to a T, and you can already see the way that they're protecting him. Oriel is there with the Crown of Hope on top of him, and look at this Corruption. He is finding the marks. 13 stacks now. It's going to be very, very soon. He may even have this by level 7 if he keeps this up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really easy to get those Corruption stacks when the enemy team is stacking the way they are. I mean, he's throwing him out, he's getting 2 or 3, perhaps even 4 each round. Max value. I mean, you're laughing all the way to the bank, but that's Gul'dan when that happens.
It's Gul'dan when that happens. Now you can see the temples have opened to start things off already. The red team, that is the Midnights. They're making their presence known. Got bodies where they need to be on there, just dealing with those Guardians, and now the engage is coming on. Burnsy with the Frost Presence misses the Howling Blast on to Quality there, but this is Immure coming in with a fantastic Condemn there on the Johanna. Takes a fair bit of damage, but you've got Oriel with Gul'dan as the battery. Heals 4 days, Disco.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really comment on it, but a lot of people do know that Gul'dan is one of the best batteries for Oriel. And you can see in this fight here, they just can't get into it. The Midnights can't really push into them. Homewreckers have decided to back out and give them the point, but now they're going to go in and fight them around the boss, dealing damage. So nice play there by the Homewreckers. Detainment
strike from Quality, just narrowly missing its connection there. It got Burnsy, but the wall was just a sliver away. Now Homewreckers, they actually flip the point. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Zagara is up there. Falstad flies his way back in, utilizing that global. Doesn't opt to go for any of the points. Instead, he's going to go for the zoning potential and just clear out those waves. Sonya, meanwhile, is up the top there. Zagara knows that he can't deal with that. Backs off accordingly. And the Homewreckers taking a slight advantage, but the level lead now in favor of the Midnights. Now you can see Burnsy coming up. Oh, Howling Blast connects onto Sonya. This is not good. Zagara's in there as his Stump God, and there it is. Sonya goes down to Shardstorm, on the Valor, getting the first blood. So well done to the Midnights, and now they're still duking it out. Good Howling Blast finds 3 up there, but the Midnights forced to disengage because of that frontline potential by the Homewreckers.
Yeah, look, even with Sonya gone, you've still got Johanna protecting a Gul'dan. The fact of the matter is when she condemns, Gul'dan just gets extra benefit, and even Oriel is focusing on her Sacred Sweep attack, making it even easier for a Gul'dan to hit multiple times. That is such a really good strategy that they're going here. I mean, we thought Gul'dan was a bit strange, but he's actually perfect. And if Gul'dan dies, he doesn't lose his stacks of corruption. So he's much safer in that regard than if you took a convection build going into KT. Or the old KT, I should say.
Totally. Now, there's that condemn we were talking about. Angel Beats throwing out those Fell Flames already halfway to the Echoed Corruption, or just under halfway rather, 19 stacks. And once the team fights engage into the mid to the late game, could even be early game the way that he's stacking up those talent points, it's going to find so much more team fight value. Because of it comes back, it deals double the damage. Immure being a good frontliner, where he needs to be, up there with those condemns. Burnsy now on the Arthas, being an equally good one on the Arthas. Frost Presence, he's had some good Howling Blast as well, but the team hasn't been able to capitalize.
No, not at all. Bottom lane, Leoric could be in a bit of trouble. Nice rotation down. There wasn't anything really for the Homewreckers in the mid lane, but
Oh,
was that a double kill?
it was. They traded blows up in the top lane. Did Falstad and Zagara. We weren't watching that because there was action going on in the mid lane. Burnsy's still taking more damage, but the Hydralisk that came down from Zagara getting the kill onto Falstad after he was able to take her down. So a trade for trade, not bad. Still a slight level advantage in favor of the Midnights. It's always a fiesta when that happens, but good nonetheless.
It was like a weird version of Romeo and Juliet plus a Griffin in the top lane. That was... Oh, well, we're going into this Temple now, the second round of Temple. The interesting thing here is that the Midnights actually have quite a more solid lead into their level 8. They may not quite have level 10 during this fight, but with Zagara in the top lane, they might be able to get it towards the end of it, which is going to be a big power play. But the Homewreckers actually grabbed the siege camp before this Temple. So now they've got lane pressure to deal with. So it's a bit of a race to level 10 now.
It's smart play to pick up the Zagara as well, because as soon as Falstad utilizes that global and goes down, Zagara is just going to lick her lips and say, yep, thanks, I'm going to take a tower. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Stump God is swinging around on that Sonya. Good Howling Blast from Burnsy. Chucky forced to Wraith Walk away, taking a fair bit of damage. The Death Coil onto himself, getting that self-heal, keeping himself alive. Well done. Prox is there on the Uther as well, doing what a good Uther does, and that is just face roll his keyboard for maximum heals. Now the tower, meanwhile, the Temple is going in favor of Homewreckers, but here come the Midnights now. Corruption still finding stacks. Condemn comes in from the Johanna. The bullets are flying left, right, and center. And was that a... I was going to say, was that a push? No, it wasn't. Chucky forced to Wraith Walk away again, but Burnsy's in trouble and he's going to fall! Well done there. Prox falls as well, and Chucky needs to be careful. He's got no one to keep him alive, but he did have to tap... Oh, sorry, it's Uther in his devotion form. So very, very lucky there that that passive is in play, but the Homewreckers... They're going to be happy with that. I mean, they didn't lose anybody. They've now hit level 10. They've taken the temples. Now they've wrestled that slight lead advantage away from Midnights. And they did that all without Falstad in the top lane.
Yeah, look, I think this is the trouble with the Midnights here, is that they need Zagara to be getting that lane experience without anything, without the Falstad countering it. We saw in that fight there that they can't get to the Gul'dan. Valor's not going to go into a Sonya and a Johanna. And if she does, she will get destroyed. She will die. So Gul'dan's kind of free just to keep throwing out his Fell Flame, throwing out his Corruption, taking a little bit of your health when you're not looking. Angel Beats is just free to do whatever he wants.
Alarming in your windows, snatching your people up. Now Chucky lands the Drain Hope onto Stump God, and that deals a fair chunk of damage. Like we said before, Leoric, the anti-tank tank. It doesn't really matter who you landed on. He is speccing, well, we think he's going to spec for that Drain Hope. He has taken Felty unto death as well, so reducing that death timer. Because, let's face it, when you're out of the fight, you're completely useless, even as Leoric in that Wraith form. Now the camp has been taken by the Midnights in that previous engagement. Homewreckers now going to answer with a Night Camp of their own, but there's pressure coming in on the top lane. Burnsy's rotated up from the mid lane. Mariko's still up there, dishing out the damage. The tower is finally going to fall, so the Midnights rest one back. It's even Stevens at this point of the game, Disco.
Yeah, like, this is... It's an interesting situation here. We've got the Midnights aren't able to get value from Zagara, but she's keeping them in the game. So once we get to the late games and we start those team fights, that's where Gul'dan might have to be careful, because now Zagara can start damaging. You know, she's the one that can put pressure on the back lane on Gul'dan to try and help, nullify his damage in those team fights. Until late game, it really is a struggle right now, and it's in the favor of Homewreckers.
Zagara needs to get around and plant a few more Nidus Worms, but Falstad is just not giving him any breathing room. Mariko is really struggling to control the lane. The only reason he got that tower then was because he had the support come up from Burnsy, and Touch Me now finally rotates down. This is where Mariko needs to drop those Nidus networks to have that, Zagara's not a global champion when we talk about global abilities, but once those Nidus Worms are down, she pretty much becomes one, but you have to be able to move the map. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, there was a bit of an engage going on. Good Horrify from Gul'dan, and Burnsy's running away now, as is Shardstorm. The Rain of Vengeance comes down. It's not going to be enough, and Valor bites the dust.
Oh, not good pathing there. Valor really needed to run away from the team, like rotate up to the top lane and use that as an escape path, not run back in and see what you can get done, because it wasn't going to work in that situation. Massive 4v2 fight. But you could actually watch there that it wasn't Valor, was it just fear for her life? Anyone in that situation would have died. Even the tank nearly died as well.
Meanwhile, the boss is going to be taken by the Homewreckers, but Burnsy has spotted Touch Me. This could be the Game of Throws that we were talking about. No, the Gust is able to keep the Midnights away and buy them enough time. Homewreckers take the boss. It's going to get to work on the bottom lane. Meanwhile, up in the top, Mariko is being a good Zagara, taking the objectives, taking the temples, getting those shots onto the tower. But now the Midnights are going to struggle a little bit because they can't take the bottom temple. They have to deal with this boss as it marches right on into that wall at their keep.
Yeah, it's a good distraction play here. You know, Homewreckers picking up the boss. It's probably not going to do that much damage to the front line at their first keep, but it's distraction. They get the bottom temple. They trade for the top temple. It's a neutral game, but because Homewreckers are in the lead, they come out on top because they entered it being on top.
That bottom tower is going to shoot all the way across the map, take out the top tower. And there's still only a slight level advantage here in favour of the Homewreckers. In fact, it's 14-14, but if they keep this soak up, they're going to get that all-important level 16 before the Midnights do. 10 minutes now. Meanwhile, back down the bot. Oh, the Divine Shield coming out there. Chucky's in trouble. Wraith walks away. Shardstorm bites the dust. Valor now on the bench. Angel Beast just sitting in his back line, pumping out damage. And poor old Burnsy has been body blocked for days. A good detainment strike for good measure. See you later. And now Prox is going to fall as well. And the Midnights, the wheels are just falling off their wagon ever so slightly. Zagara still up in the top lane, but only one Nidus Worm down. Still Disco didn't utilize that breathing room that Falstad gave him. Now finally gets another one down, but still in the top lane. Needs to scatter it a little bit more to be a bit more effective.
Yeah, she can't really split push or even come to a team fight and really help at the moment. That's the big drama here, is that she can't get to the fights to assist. She's gone back to base. She's trying to defend this bottom keep here, but it's not going to work. There's just too much talent pressure now. Level 16 has been hit for the Homewreckers. They got that light power spike. They can really go into this here and really lock them down. Sonya is now at the stage now where not only running around with ferocious healing, she now has her nerves of steel and a life funnel. She is just a...
Here come the Midnights, Disco. The Entomb lands. It actually collects on 3. Burnsy getting drained life. Didn't take it away from him from Angel Beats. They're spinning to win in that backline. Crystal Aegis onto Sonya, still spinning, and Chucky's gonna fall as well as Arthur's. It is an absolute bloodbath down here in the bottom lane, and the Homewreckers are well in control. This could even be their win condition. They're going straight for the base, straight for the core. Shardstorm still jumping away. The only one left for the Midnights. They're on the Valor. They're hunting for the core. Do they have the damage though? That is the question. I think they do. The tanks are going to soak up all of that damage pouring out from the core. Johanna pops the Iron Skin for good measure. GGs are already coming out, and the snowball, nay, the avalanche effect from the Homewreckers is too good for the Midnights.
You know, Kit Fox, it is week 4. Hopefully the Midnights don't disband after they got their homes wrecked in that match.
Huge plays from the Homewreckers. That was a very, very close game right up until, level 11, level 12. It's sort of around that 4th talent tier. That's when the Homewreckers really came into their own. They got a few cheeky kills. The Midnights, Zagara was an interesting pick. It was actually, I think it was a good pick, but Falstad, it was able to counter the Falstad. Falstad wasn't able to join the fights from the Homewreckers, but then the tide sort of turned a little bit. Falstad was the one controlling Zagara. Zagara wasn't able to litter the map with those Nidus Worms, and in the end, that's pretty much what cost them. Falstad was able to jump down into those fights when he needed to. Zagara was not, and a man advantage is always a good card to have up your sleeve at any team fight, Disco.
Yeah, look, it's that what this game was, is the Midnights failed to failed to capitalize on Zagara, and that's because Falstad didn't give her any breathing room. And you just saw, at level 1 he took Seasoned Marksman, level 4 he took Hammer Gains. So he's dealing, as the game progresses, he's doing even more and more damage, and he's scaling with Hammer Gains means he's getting more and more health back. So he can start to really punish Zagara in those lanes. And him taking Boomerang, so he's got a super safe explosion hammer, super good range, super safe, just punish Zagara, who has no real way to heal herself in the lanes.
Super strong damage coming out from the Felstad. He topped the damage. He topped the experience. Well done to Touch Me. Congratulations to the Homewreckers. They pick up a win in the first round here on Sky Temple. But don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We've got so much more Heroes of the Storm action coming at you. We've got an action-packed night. Tomb of the Spider Queen, Dragonshire, and Cursed Hollow soon to follow. Who will be playing? We do not know as yet. The games are still being completed. But for now, that's it from us. We're going to pass you back over to your host, Crisis.
Thank you, Kit Fox, and what a stunner of an opening game. The Homewreckers entering Season 4, I think it was only last week, bit of a pickup team, so they've pulled players from a couple of, well, I know of at least one player from Ethereal that is playing for the Homewreckers while Ethereal takes a break. So they're doing well for themselves, and an interesting comment that I saw earlier in Discord where they were saying they need scrims, they want scrims. So hopefully they're actually building for the future. They're looking forward to 2018 already, and I cannot believe that we're already talking about 2018 because it has been a fantastic year of Heroes of the Sport, Heroes of the Storm, Heroes of the Sports. So we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, while the bracket, the first round bracket plays out, and then we'll be back with round number 2. While we're in that break, make sure you enter the raffle. Exclamation mark GS HOTS. We're giving away 2 skin bundles today. We're giving away Garrosh first and Stukov second. Now, if you win the Garrosh code and you already have Garrosh and you'd rather have Stukov, you can elect to have Stukov instead. So we're going to be, either way, we're going to be giving away 2 of those codes tonight. And when we come back, before we open up the second round match, I have a big announcement to make about LAN finals that are happening on the 30th of September. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.